Super Dragon Ball Z is a game that exists.
Thank you for that assessment.
Now this is called Super Dragon Ball Z, not to be confused with Dragon Ball Super, which came out way after this game. This game kept coming up in my search while I was writing my Budokai Tenkaichi videos, and I did recognise the cover. I had definitely seen this game before. After booting up the game, I came to the realisation that I actually have played this game before. For whatever reason, my brain had completely wiped my memory of this game, which doesn't bode well. But this may be more down to the fact that when this game came out, I was kind of drifting away from the Dragon Ball Z franchise, and I wasn't as enthralled with the idea of getting to play as some of my favourite Dragon Ball Z characters.
Have you ever gone back to a game that you used to love and realised that it wasn't actually that good? Or replayed a game that you used to hate but found out that it was a lot better than you remember? Well, in this series, I'm going to be revisiting some games from my past and seeing whether or not they are as good or as bad as I remember. This is what we had to play.
Super Dragon Ball Z is actually a port of a Japanese arcade game from 2005. The PlayStation 2 version came out the following year. Shifting away from the gameplay of the Budokai and the Tenkaichi series, it plays more like a traditional fighting game in the realms of Street Fighter and SNK. This may be another reason why I didn't get into the title, as I'm not really a fan of fighting games in general. And the whole fighting game scene I find to be very...
You know me as low tier God.
off-putting. Although the game obviously had its fans, as it sold almost 500,000 copies in its first year. Super Dragon Ball Z plays homage to the manga's art style rather than replicating the aesthetic conventions established by the anime. And man, does it look good.
We look good. Yeah, we do.
The colour palettes of the characters are more desaturated, and the models include an increased number of line etchings. Some of the characters' colour schemes have also been altered from the anime. The most notable of these are Piccolo and Cell, both of which, in my opinion, look far more appealing in this version. The stages all have a consistent look to them and a high level of detail. The objects in the background do not have a distinct dark outline, ensuring that the character models are easily distinguishable from the environments they are placed in. Onomatopoeia words are presented in bold lettering next to hits and key blasts to help sell the effect of strong attacks. In comparison to other Dragon Ball Z games, their special attacks aren't as flashy, yet they still look great. The only thing that I would consider a bit of a weak point when it comes to the presentation is some of the animations in the opening cinematic. Some of it does come across a bit stiff looking, but this does not translate at all into the gameplay, as this game looks great in motion. The animations are quick and snappy, and help elevate how the game feels to control. The music goes with a more 90s techno feel, and is quite different to the music usually associated with the series. It definitely does sound like it belongs in an arcade setting. For the English release, the Funimation cast did all of the voiceover work. Unfortunately, there's no option to change it to the original Japanese, which is kind of strange considering they did have that in Tenkaichi 3, which came out around the same time. The voice acting is about on par with other games, aside from the audio quality itself. It sounds like it's either been badly compressed or recorded using a low quality microphone.
Once you have all 7 Dragon Balls, you can summon Shenron. Then he'll grant your wish.
Now I can't talk about the game without mentioning the menus. This game has one of the best looking menus ever. Like the rest of the game, it is styled after the manga and it looks so freaking good. Seeing this menu is actually what jotted my memory and realizing that I had played this game before. Out of everything in this game, I remember this menu. The menu is kind of a better version of what they attempted with Budokai 1. It's just no comparison, to be honest. It just blows the other one out of the water. This stylized choice is so amazing that I'm surprised that more Dragon Ball Z games haven't tried it. Maybe it's because the anime is more popular around the world and they want to cater to a wider audience, but I'm not sure whether that's true. Like I mentioned earlier, Super Dragon Ball Z is closer to a more traditional fighter, and with that being said, I am really bad at it. But I am going to do my best to go over the game's mechanics. Just keep in mind that I pretty much don't know what I'm talking about when it comes to fighting games like this. Don't crucify me, they always do. Super Dragon Ball Z is a fighting game that blends 2D and 3D components. The fundamental controls are simple to grasp. There is a button for light attacks, a button for heavy attacks, a button for jumping and flying, and a button for guarding. All of these abilities can be combined to perform various attacks, including throws, dash attacks, and ki blasts. You can deflect key attacks using the guard and holding forward, but it is often easier just to sidestep these attacks as you can move freely around the arenas. Every character has their own specific set of combos, as well as their own distinct playstyle. For instance, Piccolo's stretchy arms allow him to have an incredibly long reach, whereas Android 16 is powerful, but moves at a rather slow pace. When compared to other Dragon Ball Z games that I have played, this one's combat system places less emphasis on the use of long-range ki blasts. When you're on the ground, you are more likely to avoid being attacked by jumping over obstacles than you are by flying, so you won't see much airborne combat. Like in most Dragon Ball Z fighting games, characters have their own super and ultimate moves. They can be executed using quarter circles or half circle rotations, which for people who are familiar with other fighting games like Street Fighter will probably find them fairly simple to perform. But for a noob like me, I was having quite a bit of trouble. Like here I'm trying to perform Frieza's super move, but I just end up running around and I don't know how I'm even doing this. I don't even know if that's a move. He's just running. There are transformations. Kind of. Goku, Teen Gohan, Vegeta and Trunks can all turn Super Saiyan during a fight. They act more as super attacks rather than new forms, as you are only in this mode for a short amount of time, rather than trying to maintain it throughout a match. If you're more familiar with the Budokai and Tenkaichi series, you'll notice that the HUD is considerably different. There is a regular health bar, but instead of a key gauge, there's an action and ultimate bar. The action bar is the blue bar that is located at the very bottom of the screen. This determines when you're able to do a ki blast parry, dash, and remain flying in the air. Your action bar will refill itself when you're standing still on the ground and not executing any of the actions just listed. The ultimate bar is the green bar underneath your health. This is mostly used to perform super moves and ultimate moves. It can be filled by performing special moves, receiving damage, and landing attacks successfully. The AI is quite challenging, but it isn't as ruthless as seen in Infinite World. Watch my video on that, cause fuck. That AI wants you dead. During the first round of a match, they tend to be kinder to you, before ramping things up in subsequent rounds. If you're having issues, you can adjust the difficulty and damage output in the options. Regrettably, due to my lack of familiarity with traditional fighting games, I am unable to say how well this game would compare to other titles in its genre. After reading a few reviews of the game, it seems that the general consensus is that it lacks depth in comparison to other popular fighting games that it tries to emulate. From the perspective of a Dragon Ball Z fan, it doesn't have the spectacle that the series is known for. The lack of teleportation, beam struggles, and powering up ki makes it feel a little generic. However, the controls are very responsive, and actions flow naturally into one another. The relative simplicity in comparison to other fighting games made it a little bit easier for me to grasp. There weren't a lot of combos I needed to learn just to have a shot at winning a match, so it may be a good stepping stone for players who don't normally play traditional fighters. The first mode we're going to go over is creatively named Original. How original. This is an arcade mode in which you will go head to head against 7 different combatants, one after the other. As you proceed through the game's tiers, the opponents you face will get progressively more difficult. The final fight will always be fought against Perfect Cell. I thought it was kind of funny that after winning against Cell, you get a game over screen. I guess technically the game is over, but you don't get a congratulations or anything. It's just like, game over, bye, but you're back to the title screen. I don't know, it just comes across as really weird. As you fight, you'll be rewarded with experience and Dragon Balls. You can set the amount of rounds per match, so if you just want to level up and get the Dragon Balls quickly, you can just set it to 1 round if you want. But in order to get these rewards, you first must make a custom character, which I didn't know. So I was playing through this mode for a while, wondering why I wasn't getting anything. So note to anyone playing this game, make a custom character first, don't end up like me. Z Survivor has you fight with only 1 health bar against up to 9 of the characters without losing. You spin a roulette in the downtime between bouts, and the outcomes of those spins will determine whether you'll recover health, improve your attack or defense power, gain a bonus in either your BP or XP points, or earn a Dragon Ball. The roulette spins slowly initially, but as you go on through the game and gain higher rewards, the roulette speeds up and the difficulty of the opponents increases. At the end, you may be able to fight one of the unlockable characters for a big bonus at the risk of losing all of your rewards. This isn't how you unlock the characters though, at least I don't think it's an alternative way of unlocking the characters, because I never managed to beat any of them.
You f***ing failure!
Yeah, I don't know, I can't confirm another way you can unlock characters. Versus mode is fairly standard, where you can fight against another player, setting handicaps using custom or standard characters and selecting a stage. Unfortunately, you cannot choose to fight against the computer in this mode, which is a weird omission and sucks for people like me who don't have any friends, so didn't get to play it. When you have collected all 7 Dragon Balls with a custom character, you can summon Shenron and be granted 1 wish. There are a lot of options to choose from. There are characters you can unlock, alternative outfit colours, new skills, and a lot of other things. It's a great incentive to dive into the single player modes to earn these rewards, and it's really easy to gather all 7 Dragon Balls, so it doesn't take that long to unlock everything that you may want. The final mode to go over is the training mode, and it is one of the best training modes I have seen in any of the Dragon Ball Z games I've played. It shows you all of your inputs at the bottom of the screen, so it's easy to tell if you're inputting the correct buttons for the move you're trying to perform. There is also a command list that shows all of your character's moves. The only issue is the icons that they use to show the buttons are not the same as the PS2 controller, although it is really easy to figure out which button corresponds with each icon. You can either practice against the second player or against the computer. When going against the computer, you can set up the actions via the menu. You can add environmental obstacles and change the game controls on the fly. It's an absolutely fantastic training mode, and it helped me a lot in learning how to play the game. The modes available to play are pretty decent, but if you're anything like me, you can't really help but miss having a story mode to play through. But this is not the focus of Super Dragon Ball Z. After all, this is a port of an arcade title. If you have someone to play with, you'll probably get a lot more out of this game than I did. And I think this game would be really great if it had an online mode. The character customization is perhaps the most interesting aspect of Super Dragon Ball Z. With any character, you can create a character card. When using them in original, Z Survivor and Versus mode, they will gain experience that you can use to train new skills. Each character has their own unique skill tree. There is usually a choice between 2 to 3 skills for you to pick from within each tier of the tree, but you can only ever pick one. Characters can also inherit skills from other characters. You can only inherit skills from a character who has completed their skill tree, so you can't just go on inheriting skills willy-nilly. Even with this limitation, there is so much freedom in customizing a character to your liking. This system is really robust, and would be great to see more Dragon Ball Z games implementing something similar. Yeah, it's not canon for Frieza to know the Kamehameha, but it is fun. There are even skills that can be inherited from characters that aren't even in the game, but these can only be obtained through Shenron. The biggest downside to this system is it does require quite a bit of grinding. But if you're really into the gameplay, then that shouldn't be an issue, as almost every mode earns you experience. There are a total of 18 characters to choose from. 13 are available right off the bat, with the other 5 being unlocked by wishing for them from Shenron. At least you can get them in survivor mode, but I never managed to do it, so I don't know. I don't know if you can do that. There's not that much information on this game, so
Do you have any idea?
I don't know. The roster isn't that big, but has a good variety and all of the characters feel distinct from each other. Even the two Gohans feel vastly different from one another, with Teen Gohan using hand-to-hand combat and his adult self fighting with the Z-sword. All of the characters are very well balanced and there is no one character that is dominant over the others. Some characters though are more accessible for new players to grasp, as I found Goku quite a bit easier to figure out how to play with than any of the androids, although that might just be because I'm terrible at the game, maybe. There are 8 stages for you to battle on, all with unique layouts and destructible environments. Depending on the stage you're fighting on can actually significantly impact the fight. Due to the destructive nature of the stages, you can use these elements to throw your opponent into them or even pin them against a wall. The stages themselves aren't that large, but the fights are usually very close up and personal, so you don't really notice. The World Tournament stage is strange in that there is no ring out system, so you and your opponent can run off the side of the platform and the fight will continue. The training stage takes place on the Capsule Corp ship that Vegeta uses to train in. It can only be played on in the training mode though, but I really love the extra detail they went into just adding it for the training mode. It's also one of the only Dragon Ball Z fighting games that has an interior stage, unless you count the hyperbolic time chamber, but I don't associate with people like that. My final thoughts on Super Dragon Ball Z is that it's a good game, but it's just not for me. I think that may be why I don't really remember playing it. It wasn't so bad like with Ultimate Battle 22 where it was burnt into my brain, and it didn't appeal to my enjoyment of playing through the scenarios of the anime like any of the Budokai games did. It also came at a time in my life where I was getting into other franchises like Final Fantasy and Assassin's Creed, and Dragon Ball Z just fell to the wayside a bit. If you're into more traditional fighting games, then you'll probably have a lot of fun with this game, especially with the character customization. Super Dragon Ball Z is not forgettable, I'm just forgetful.